One day I was talking to a label A&R and they told me how much their decision making about whether or not they're going to sign a song to a label depends upon whether or not that song fits the exact blueprint of that label. No longer is the strategy of just making the best song possible in that genre going to work, because every label has such precise decisions that you need to cater to. This includes the width of certain instruments, whether some things are mono versus stereo, the type of saturation, the length of the samples, the length of the kick, the type of bass line. All of these things are so precise and specific to the label, and this is changing from time to time. So if you're not able to take a snapshot of what that label sound is in that particular moment, you're going to be shooting a dart from miles away. So the simple process that I developed that has a 90% rate of success within my students is aggressive referencing. I used to take maybe 3 months to finish one track and had tons of unfinished projects till I started to do this one thing. The first step of this process is to find 3 professional sounding tracks that are performing well in your niche, as well as are signed to the labels that you want to get signed to. Next, what you do is you dissect these tracks by reverse engineering and figuring out the sample selection and the preset selection that they've done. This will help you make sure that you can find the right types of samples and presets. And what you want to focus on is the lengths of the samples, the widths of the samples, whether or not samples are layered, especially if there are drum samples like claps and hats. Also focus on details such as the types of ear candy, the types of reverb used within these songs. You can do a lot more now with AI tools by dissecting the stems and going deeper into it. I give my mentorship students a song analysis tool that helps them divide the process in a very structured manner, where they can identify from band to band, from low frequency, mid frequency to high frequency, and understand how wide, narrow an instrument is, as well as the details of the qualities of sounds within each of these instruments. Nothing kills your productivity more than trying to find the right type of samples. So once you do a deep analysis and try to figure out the sample selection that is being used by some of the reference tracks that you've chosen, you're going to be able to make these decisions a lot faster. And once you figure out what kind of samples and presets are being used by these artists, you can now save them in your own preset pack, and you can even now innovate and find sounds that fit the ballpark of these presets as well as samples, but still speak the language that the labels want you to speak, which is understanding their blueprint. After you've figured out the samples, now you want to go ahead and analyze the groove, the swing of the drums, along with the chord progressions used. Every label has a very specific type of feeling that the A&Rs like. Next, you want to analyze the arrangement. If you do arrangement analysis correctly, you're going to answer one of the biggest questions that I get asked by music producers worldwide is, how do I know when my track is done? By doing a solid arrangement analysis, you're going to be able to understand how many instruments are being used by people in your reference tracks. And then now you have a ballpark of how many instruments on the maximum and minimum you should be using, and how many instruments simultaneously need to be playing at a certain amount of time. So you can take all the guesswork out of whether or not your track is done. Especially if you listen to your track consistently for a long period of time, you always feel like it is not exciting enough and you end up adding too many instruments. This way, you're going to be developing very strong instincts that will help you make sure that you do not need to send your music to feedback streams to get a clearer idea of whether or not your song is professional quality or not. Now, there are certain tools out there that will help you compare things a lot deeper. One of them is Metric Adapter AB. This will give you a clear multi-dimensional view of how your track sounds and what's missing in your track compared to reference tracks by just switching between your track and the reference track. Now, once you've created this template with all of this referencing and you've documented all the decisions that artists in your reference tracks make, you can now emulate and then innovate and start putting in your own instruments that you feel still fit the quality and the style of the labels that you're going for. This is where you personalize your template and make sure that you introduce signature elements in your own track that you can use in all of your tracks in the future. Once you have your template, now you should be able to finish those 4 remixes and 4 originals in no time. And if you want to understand deeply how I teach my students and help them get signed to big labels on their first ever release, then you can join my waitlist and learn more about my program. I'll put a link in the description below.